This is not a video I think I'll ever be fully prepared and confident enough to make, but this Switch has been sitting on my desk for too long and I finally want to do something about it. So, this is a Switch 1, it's a V2 model, and this isn't exactly about the Switch per se, but about the screws. So, I've been sort of working on a project for I would say a couple months now at this point, and I mean, it's getting to a point that I don't think I'll ever find a satisfactory conclusion for it, so I might just have to post my findings of what I have. But it was looking at this sort of intersection between JIS and Phillips screwdrivers for crosshead tip geometry. And the information is confusing and marred by, I think, two separate groups of two like hobbyist sects just sort of blabbing at each other like, oh yes, JIS is superior to Phillips because it will fit all Phillips recesses, and others saying that no, that Phillips is significant, but you just have to use the right driver for the right bit, and if you're using a Phillips driver on a Phillips head screw, it will work better than a JIS. So you get a lot of conflicting information, and why I have a switch here specifically is, while researching, I came across, of course, this hardware.hacks guide, which I do. Let me just remake the display capture scene. And they postulate kind of a weird... Here it is. And they postulate kind of this argument that, especially in relation to iFixit, that JIS won't work in Phillips when I've heard the exact opposite. Where JIS will work in Phillips. And I mean, like I said, I'm not exactly properly I don't feel like I'm properly prepared to say this, or to sort of make this video, so I'm going to be rambling a lot. But this website postulates that the iFixit kits, the ones that are very highly regarded as like the gold standard for electronics repairs, use JIS, unspecified specification, for their Phillips bits. Now, and then they sort of line up the proof that with the rails on the Nintendo Switch, using the wrong screwdriver will strip your screws. And they have this video with a Switch using an iFixit Phillips. They were camming out on that screw. And then using sort of this unspecified Phillips 00, yank the screw out just fine. So what does that mean exactly? This is kind of the entire point of that paper I was writing. So let me look at iFixit stuff. Let's go to their tools and see if they I need to remember where I found that. I think they have the tip geometry. Let me just yank that web page. So I think it's this web page that I have. Ah, yes. So they have their standards that their Phillips is an older style of drive using ISO 8764-1, and JIS is using the B4633 standard. The Hardware Hacks Guide is postulating that no, the Phillips is actually practically JIS. And getting into like what the ISO and JIS standards particularly mean, I mean, that's even another layer of complication. Like, is this standard falling in line with the ISO standard so they are practically the same driver? So you have this website saying that the Phillips are basically JIS, and making this idea that no, the iFixit Phillips drives are bad, and this unidentified Phillips screwdriver is good. Well, a bit in this case. So then, again, this can get incredibly complicated very fast. So then, what's the right driver? Is it a Phillips? Is it a JIS? Is it this weird unidentified Phillips that they use? Is that a proper Phillips? Is that also conforming to ISO 8764-1? Is the Phillips drive on the iFixit kit actually more conforming with the JISB 6433 standard? Are the two standards so... you will have websites saying that the two standards are so closely tied together that they're functionally the same driver despite them being based on different standards. You'll have people arguing that no, anything that's not using a JIS standard is not a true JIS bit, therefore using an ISO bit in place of a JIS bit is, well, you're just asking for failure. And I mean, again, it gets extremely complicated. So first, let me look at what the switch guide recommends for removing those screws. They recommend their JIS number 00. Now, this website postulates that they recommend using a Phillips, but in iFixit's defense, they are recommending the JIS 00. One of the main problems that this Hardware Hacks wiki and I guess myself have identified is these guides can be extremely inconsistent, recommending different drivers for like the same process. So I haven't done any research beforehand to see if I can find one of those inconsistencies with the Nintendo Switch specifically. But I've seen it firsthand in the DS and 3DS space, where there are two of the exact same consoles that are two like different-ish consoles, like the new 3DS and the new 3DS XL use similar screws, but iFixit will claim that no, these screws are actually JIS, and then these other screws, even though they're the same screws, use Phillips. See, here's an example right here. This is a Switch OLED, which in my defense could be entirely, or in iFixit's defense, could be entirely different screws. I doubt it. They require a Phillips driver to prevent tightening these screws from stripping, apply firm downward force, working slowly, and trying another and now they're using 000s, which I'm going to make the bold assumption that these are the same screws. And they use JIS and Phillips interchangeably. When you have where was it? Here it is. So, and then I fix it, like, making the bold affirmation that, no, you can't use them interchangeably. So here, JIS and Phillips drivers are not always interchangeable. And they do not share identical physical properties. And that sort of leaves them a bit of plausible deniability, not always interchangeable. So when they say, like on the OLED, when they recommend using either, they could say, well, in this case, it doesn't matter. But then when does it matter? And then why it doesn't matter in one case, but not the other, when these are most likely identical, if not the same screws. So, I mean, again, I'm like cranking open lots of little cans of worms that I'm not fully going into. But what I wanted to do today is focus in on this video specifically, where they postulate that the iFixit Phillips does not work on the Switch, but some unidentified 00 does, with little to no force. They do a pull test and a fastener releasing test. So I have an iFixit kit, and I took photos of or not only do I have an iFixit kit, I have a whole box of 00 screwdrivers for the purpose of this project that I've been working on that's been perpetually going. And I took pictures of all the tip geometries. And I made a little jig and tried to take a picture of them relative to a ruler in the background. I would say these pictures did not come out fantastic, but I think for my purposes as sort of an amateur, they're good enough. Now the ruler in the background is in it is in metric. These are millimeter. It goes down to 0.5 millimeter ticks. So this is a vessel, a highly regarded screwdriver brand out of Japan. They themselves don't use JIS. What they do base their tip geometry off of JIS. They use their own in-house geometry. So though it's not proper JIS, it is neither JIS, ISO, DIN. It's none of the officially recognized standards. They use an in-house standard. Now, I have the two iFixits up here. This is an iFixit Phillips. And I've never used this screwdriver, and it's already it looks like it's damaged, so I don't know if I just got a shitty quality, or maybe even a used one. It was brand new to the best of my knowledge. But this is a Phillips. And this is a JIS, also from iFixit. You can see that there's practically very little difference. The Phillips has a bit of it comes to a bit of a more of a point, and the JIS is more blunt. But I mean, how many, point maybe 2 or maybe 3 millimeters, if even that, separates these two. There is a couple more geometric differences. I don't know the exact terms for all of the parts of a screwdriver, but these sort of recesses are a little longer on the Phillips. You can see that they are close, if not nearly identical. On screws as small as a 00, that might matter. And now, just for fun, I'll just kind of go over the rest of these screwdrivers. I'll start from the bottom, as that will make more sense. This is a Weeha 00. This was a non-branded, pack-in screwdriver that came with I don't remember. It probably came with some, Switch Joy-Con replacements. There's a PB Swiss, a Snap-on. This is part of my, Chinesium bit set that I got a long time ago, so these things are heavily used. A Stree bit. Yeah, it's like a Stree Beto kit. And I have the 2 used bits that I have. We have Sunfrag, a very apparently somewhat renowned screwdriver brand out of Japan. We have my Vessel. This was a brand new Vessel screwdriver that I purchased for this project. We have this Vessel that I have been actively using. That's been sort of my main screwdriver for 00s. We have Wera, which is a wildly different bit. This thing, I don't know what Wera's standards are, but they're the most unusual bit. They're all labeled as 00 cross recess. We have an Ace hardware bit. We have an Ace full screwdriver, which again looks very strange. We have a Craftsman jeweler, a Draper Expert, which is apparently a European brand. I have an Extreme Rate pack-in screwdriver that came with one of my Switch light shell replacement kits. Heart, which is a generic private label from Walmart. Husky, insulated. We have both iFixits, Klein Tools, Milwaukee 4-in-1, Milwaukee 39-in-1, and Milwaukee full bit drivers. So even just among Phillips 00s or just 00 cross recess, there is quite a bit of variation. That Wera bit, and even just amongst the Milwaukees, they're wildly different. With this Milwaukee, the 4-in-1, more resembling the Wera in tip geometry. But that tip geometry differs greatly from things like the Vessel. There it is. And I mean, and even kind of looking at alongside the vessel, it doesn't actually differ too much, like maybe 0.2 millimeters. Then we have things like the heart, the private label out of Walmart, which I think is just a smaller diameter, but you kind of get the picture. It's not uniform, nor is it like super consistent. So that's kind of the whole reason why I was trying to look into this. And I mean, it's just becoming a lot more complicated than I think I'm ready to admit. So what I wanted to do is test this video that they have on this hardware guide wiki and just see, like, is there truly this, like, inconsistency with iFixit that their bits are not what they say they are. This will be a little janky because I'm going to try and do this with my screwdriver, or try and do this with my microscope. Now this is an unopened, for lack of a better term, virgin switch. So this thing has never been opened. I'm going to try and get a better angle here. I might prop it up on this John Madden 2019. Get a good view of that screw. And I want to start with the iFixit kit. So I have an iFixit Mako kit. To my knowledge, was brand new. The bits don't necessarily look like they're brand new, but I'm not gonna buy more kits to find a new one. I did buy it from Amazon, so there is some amount of like, was it returned? I think it was shrink wrapped when I got it, so it would be very unlikely. I'm gonna grab the 00 Phillips, which is labeled PH00. I should probably just do this on my microscope. PH00, and then I'll grab the JIS00. So those were the two screws, or these were the two bits that I took photos of and were showing off in GIMP. So I'm not going to do the unscrewing right away. I want to do this pull test that they're talking about. So I'm going to start with the Phillips. What screw am I looking at? This one? I want to do this one. This is their same screw. Yeah, you can see the Phillips doesn't fit this recess very well. And that is very consistent of what I read about online with Phillips drivers, is since they do have that bump on the end, they don't stick in JIS screws very well. Now let me grab the JIS bit. In doing this pull test, neither of them are really gripping. At least not to the degree of, like, it will yank my bit out of my bit holder. I would say that's a much tighter fit. I'm rotating it and there's no wiggle. Let me go back to the Phillips. And I guess, to be fair, there's also no wiggle. Like, it's not sort of like rotating around in the recess. So now it's, what exactly are they using as a reference? They're using just 00. Now, I'm not going to grab all of my screwdrivers. What I do want to grab is just a couple standouts here. I'm going to grab I want to grab that Wera. Find it. has very strange geometry. I'm going to grab my used vessel, the vessel that I've been using. So that would be this guy right here. This is the vessel I've been using for a while. I mean, I've worn off the printing on it, so I had to scratch in P00 in it. Here's a Wera. To my knowledge, is brand new, not a counterfeit. I want to grab a Milwaukee for really no specific reason. It's a Milwaukee 00 full screwdriver. And then I want to grab a Sunfrag. I have it in this little set right here. And then I'll grab a Snap-on. Just sort of a good smattering of just like weird screwdrivers. From private labels to like in-house standards. Or at least more reputable brands that have standards that I can, well, I could trust that they probably adhere to a standard. And then here's a Snap-on. Extremely expensive tools, by the way. That kit was over $100. So let me do this. I don't necessarily have... Maybe using a full screwdriver probably isn't a good idea because the pull test relies on yanking the bit out of the holder. But then you also have to rely on the idea that every bit holder is a little different. This is a Snap-on. Twisting it. There's some amount of play. And I would say it's not like yanking on the screw. There's no like real bit force holder. So here's the Milwaukee, the full screwdriver. What I will do is go to bits. I do have bit sets, a few. Here's the Wera. You can even see the kind of pointed geometry on it. And you can see just how that does not fit well at all. Like, look at how much space between the recess there is, and there's a little bit of jiggle. And you do the Sunfrag next. Ooh, yeah, that one fits good. Still no, like, pull force, I would say. And then here's my vessel. This is my used vessel that I've been just using for a lot of different things. So it is going to be a little damaged, but... Ooh. I've always liked how vessel engages. I mean, look at that. A tiny bit of play. So let me grab some bit sets. I mean, I guess to be fair, I don't have that many bit sets. I have the iFixit, I have the Milwaukee 39-in-1, which has bits. My Chinesium Stree bit, my 2 00s, which I need to grab. And then the iFixit. Where did I put that? Okay. Yeah, it's these sort of bit sets that come in these like pouches that have just a bunch of bits and other random stuff with it. Pry tools and the like. So I'll just grab one of the 00s. I just need to make sure I keep all these bits separate. I don't think they're all labeled. So using the same iFixit driver, this is going to be the Milwaukee bit from that 39-in-1. Oh, well, the problem is this bit doesn't fit in the bit holder. It's too small. So let me grab the Milwaukee driver. That was not something I thought was going to happen. Oh, I also have my vessel bit set. Ooh, that grips in nicely. Holy. Alright. It's not enough to yank it out of the actual bit holder, but it does kind of pop out. So if I press it in, you can see the rotation in my bit holder. It's not really holding the bit very well. And I did buy this 39-in-1 used, so it's possible it's just a little worn. Maybe over-torqued a little, but this bit is holding on to it. Let me put this away, just to try and keep things organized. I'll try my Strabito, which is actually the same size of the iFixit, so I will use that. Now, this bit is heavily used. How many DSIs I've opened with this thing. And I mean, even just anecdotal evidence, like, yeah, this bit could be highly damaged, and it doesn't grip. Even with it being as loose as it is in the recess, I've really had no problems with it. Put it away. And then, I see it, okay. Then I have a vessel bit set. Just one of these accordion bit sets. I do have the driver for it right here. I liked using it for its wide tips for Nintendo Switch Lites. So I'm going to grab the 00, one of the 00s that are in this kit. This is also an unused kit, so these should be brand new. I don't think these will fit in the iFixit driver. Yes, they do. Okay. See, even like a brand like Vessel, there's still just a little bit of play, and it doesn't grip. Vessel uses an in-house, like I've said, Vessel uses an in-house standard based on the JIS standard that they apparently helped find. Like they were one of the founding member, or the founding like force behind the original JIS standard, and it doesn't fit. Some better than others. So now let's go. If the pull test, I would say, is almost inconclusive. My Milwaukee test was almost about as, or my Milwaukee test was about as close to that video test as any. It didn't yank the bit out of the driver as dramatically as what they shown. I don't know what bit they used. But let's go to the actual unfastening. So let me grab the iFixit bits again. I'm going to start with the Phillips. And they say with little to no downward force, this thing will just cam out. And I'm going to make sure that I am using the Phillips, yes. So I'm just using about the amount of force I would expect. It is struggling. I don't want to put too much force into it, but I am turning it, and I really don't want to damage this screw, but you can see it's ready to just skip. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to try their JAS bit now. I would say that Phillips bit was not correct. The JAS grabs and unscrews. So this is the iFixit JAS. It didn't cam out. I didn't want to cam out on that other bit, but it was reaching that point. And I'm just going to use another screw now as a reference. So now what I can do is look at the screw specifically. I can take out my calipers and measure it. Is it actually a 00? That wasn't really something I could do easily within the recess. So the Hardware Hacks Guide recommends it's a 00. The iFixit goes between 00 and 000 from their switch-to-switch OLEDs. This will take just a moment of setup. I'm going to grab the screw, stick it in my vise so it's held, and then I'm going to take my calipers and measure the recess size. The Hardware Hacks guy did post a really good measurement comparison. Like if the recess is X amount of millimeters, it's most likely to be this recess size. And I've been using that, and it seems to be consistent. So I think the 00 was like 1 millimeter? I don't remember exactly. Let me actually look that up before I just start spouting nonsense. Ah, right here. I'll bring it up. So they have it where a number 0 is 2 millimeters, 00 is 1.5, a 000 is 1. And they do that by measuring the actual recess size. I found that to be accurate. That falls in line with what I was able to find as well. So here's that exact screw I just yanked out. I didn't want to damage it, but you can see it is a little bit of it is damaged a little. I think that Phillips did do some damage to it. Like I was cranking on it pretty hard and I could just feel it warping the screw head. Not enough to make my measurements invalid. So this will be largely just kind of eyeballing it because I don't have precision measurement tools. I wish I did. Just like flash a laser at this thing to get the exact measurements, but eyeballing it with some calipers is about as good as I'll get. So it's about like that. And this screw is measuring 1.53 millimeters. So that is a 00 recess. So let me get back to the screws and the drivers. So I would agree that their findings that the Phillips 00 will cam out. So now with sort of with the screwdrivers that I have picked out, just the random lot of screwdrivers, let's just see how else other ones do. So here's another screw. I'm pretty sure these are all the same screws, to be honest. I don't know. They look the same though. Let me actually consult the iFixit guide. Now, I don't think I actually need to remove these side screws, and they could be held to a different torque, implying that any data I collect off of these side screws are insufficient. But let me check. So on the iFixit guide, I guess I might as well bring it up. It is a 3.8 millimeter recess. Now the screws that I'm going to be looking at are going to be for the side rails, sensor rails right here. Pretty sure they're for the sensor rails. Yeah, right here. They're 3.7 millimeter screws. Ah, here we go. Use a JIS 000 screwdriver or an iFixit official 000 driver. Phillips JIS. Where this screw was supposed to be... Let me go back to it. It is a 000. No, where was it? It's a 00, but then it's suddenly a 000. So yeah, it's just another example of just how this is just the Wild West of information. You can just say what you want. I will measure these screws once I take them out the recess. So let me try. So the Phillips out of iFixit was able to unscrew that very nicely. Let me try this is my vessel, my used vessel that, again, it's kind of old reliable, that I've had for a while and has been very consistent. There is a little bit of play, but I would say not much. So let me just go. Ooh, look at that. I cammed out. So even my vessel is having a problem with that. Let me try the snap-on. Brand new snap-on. Ooh, like, I'm just camming out just automatically. Like, it's not gripping the screw at all. That's kind of incredible. Here's the Wero, my Wera driver that has very strange tip geometry. gripping it a lot better, but I'm having a hard time, like, there it goes. It's gripping better. I would say it maybe puts a little too much force. Or I think it's not gripping exceptionally well. I think the iFixit JIS did a little better. So let me grab this screw, and let's look at these screws. let's take them aside and look at them. iFixit calls this a JIS000 recess screw. iFixit, oh, here it is. iFixit also calls this one a JIS00. Could you tell me the difference? Because I can't tell you the difference. I mean, they're both probably 3.8 millimeter screws. Let me get them in my clamp to determine their recess size. So I already know the recess of this one, but I will put them side by side. This will take me a second. I'll try and get them very close together so I can have them both in one microscope frame. So, can you tell me which one's the 000 and which one's the 00? Let me grab my calipers. So I'm pretty sure the top one is what's been labeled as a 00. Let's measure this recess again. About as accurately as I can get. Eyeballing it at least. About like that. So it's 1.39, which will round up to 1.5. Again, this is just a consequence of adding it. So I didn't touch my calipers. Still 1.29, I must have bumped it. So let me just reset the 0 and try it again. If this was a 000, it would be measuring approximately 1 millimeter. I'd say about that. Which is 1.49 millimeters. That is consistent with a 00, which it's still 1.49. I'm being more careful not to bump it. Look about the same, if I wasn't so shaky. So neither of these are 000. They're both 00. And to further accentuate that point, let me get some 000s. I have a couple. Now, there's not going to be a very easy way for me to do this, but I will do what I can. Let me just see what sets actually have 000s. So I have a brand new full-sized vessel screwdriver kit. I'll grab a 000 from that. That is a 40. Here's a 000 driver. The full vessel P000. I grab the vessel bit P000. I think does this set have it? Yes, it does. That's a P000. And then I'll grab iFixit's 000, which they have both in Philips and in JIS. So those will be kind of my examples, as I don't necessarily have too many 000s. Because a lot of mine, I was aiming for 00, so if as long as it had a 00, that was enough. That was satisfactory enough for me. Let me. I might actually put it in my vise just so that I can have something that's a little more rigid. Should have just left them in the vise. I have to kind of do this at an angle so I don't interrupt my, or I don't get my screwdrivers in the way. So here, I'll do my vessel full-sized 000. I might have to actually angle my camera a little better. And you can see it does fit. There is a bit of gap on the edge of the recess. But it's still enough to engage. I would say there's quite a bit of play as well. This is not going to be the best because the screw can turn within my vise, but I mean, with enough force, you could use a 000 just fine. Here is my vessel bit. I just put in the screwdriver, or the iFixit screwdriver holder. Yeah, and even here, this is a vessel bit. It's quite a bit of play. Here is the iFixit Philips 000. Ooh. Yeah, that does not look good at all. Look at how much space there is on that recess. I'm on it square as I can. And then the iFixit JIS 000. And that actually looks really good. And there's some good pullback force on it too. Yeah, it even yanked my bit out of my holder. So, So when I said the information is confusing and inconsistent, that's what I mean. Does that mean that this is an actual 000 screw? I mean, a 00 worked fine, but I was having problems with 00. But like even with my 000 on my full-sized vessel, there's a little bit of stickiness to it, and this would definitely do the job. Let me look at my... Actually, let's go to the switch. Let's put these two screws to the test. The ones that are still in the screw, or the ones that are still in the switch that have not been taken out yet. So, virgin screws, torqued in by the factory. Let's do this one. So here's my vessel, full-sized 000. You can see there's quite a bit of gap between the recess. Like, I can see a pretty good gap. Trying to unfasten it. These handles are not conducive with a lot of torque. Oh, yep, cammed out. Ooh, that was a pretty good cam out too. So I stopped immediately. Now let me grab the iFixit JIS. Still a bit of gap. Ooh, I'm camming out. Okay, so I think I've properly damaged this screw, so let me actually get it out. So I think this is the snap-on 00, and I think this one just cams out immediately. Yeah, that. Use my my full-sized vessel 00. Camming. Yeah, I've most likely now I've stripped that screw just a little. So am I saying that iFixit's 000 just damaged my screwdriver? Or damaged my screw? A little bit. Let me grab that Milwaukee 39-1. Not only does it have a bigger handle, it gripped very nicely. And I don't necessarily intentionally like damaging screws on this poor console, but yep, I see it wanting the cam out. Now, I did take it out originally with the iFixit 00JIS. Let me grab that. I'm going to use a pretty good amount. Oh, yeah. Camming out. So I have very much properly begun stripping that screw. Like, that screw is now officially, like, damaged. And taking it out might be quite the trouble. So that's the iFixit Phillips, which is just camming. So I need to sort of look into now removing the screw officially, because I'd rather not want to. I don't want to drill this one out if I don't have to. The multiple screwdrivers I'm using are just camming out now. Ooh, now I'm really in trouble. Pressing extremely hard with my vessel, I was able to get this screw out. And, I mean, that thing is properly fucked. So that is going straight into the garbage. What sparked that? Using a 000. A vessel, no doubt. What does that say? Maybe a 000 is not the right screwdriver, iFixit. I'm willing to sacrifice another screw, because, for science. The vessel started that. That was the vessel, this vessel 000. My understanding is this is an authentic vessel. So it is unlikely that a brand such as Vessel would be that prone to... Or I don't blame the driver in this case. I don't blame it being the 000 driver. But let me try now an iFixit 00 or 000 JIS. See if this is actually the proper recessed screw. You can already see I'm starting to damage it. And I feel it's gonna cam. I felt it sort of starting to slip. Let me try the iFixit Phillips 000. And because I don't want to damage this screw again, I was feeling it starting to slip. So what is the point I'm trying to make? that this information, that these screwdrivers, that these screws, these recesses, just everything, all of this information is just garbled. I pushed pretty hard on that screw, so that is not a very good test base. I just wanted to get the screw out without destroying it. But even my attempts of unscrewing it did kind of damage it a little. This is the JIS00 from iFixit. Let me go grab a Switch OLED. This is a bit of an aside. Now, I did sort of blindly theorize that the screws on this rail are going to be the same on the OLED that they are on the original Switch. I find absolutely zero reason Nintendo to use a different screwdriver or screw. And look at that. Methinks those are the exact same. And those are the ones that iFixit's calling for a 000. I'm going to put the 00 that I yanked out next to it. Do those look different? I would say not. And this is like a proper right Switch OLED. It's actually the Scarlet and Violet version. So I did kind of get off my original intention. My original intention was sort of scrutinizing this video for being very uninformative and somewhat unhelpful. Then let's go back to the core root of that video, which I already kind of did. I want to do it again. The iFixit Phillips 00. Little force. Cam. iFixit JIS 00. Using a little force. I'm damaging that screw. So I'm going to go and actually unscrew it. Oh, now I'm damaging it. That is a properly stripped screw now. Wow, I'm not going to go that grandiose, but the makings of a damaged recess, so I'm going to grab my vessel 00 and press hard again just to get it off. That is another screw that will be tossed in the garbage. This one looks a lot better, but you can tell it's just completely boned. So the iFixit Phillips damaged my screwdriver, or damaged my screw on my Switch. Let's do the JIS 00 to start with. This is the one they actually recommend. Oh, actually, no, they don't. For this screw, they recommend a 000, but I'm going to start with the 00. Using a little force, nothing too crazy. And it nabbed it. Now, let's try the JIS 000 like they recommend. And this is again iFixit. Using about the same force. I don't exactly have like a meter to test it with. And it's slipping. You can see it already starting to peel up the metal on that screw. So I'm going to pull that off. A JIS 000 will damage your screw on a Nintendo Switch. Hey, look at this. So Just for fun, I opened up the comments. Had to Dremel it out. Yeah. Don't use 000s on 00 screwdrivers, people. Now, because I don't want to fuck all these screws up, I need to have some installed. I'm just going to try and take the rest of them out with my vessel 00. My used vessel that I have love, but now that I've sort of damaged this recess a little, this might not actually be the best screwdriver either. Coincidentally, the JIS driver from iFixit seemed to do the best of the bits I've tried. I'm putting in quite a good amount of force because I don't want to destroy this screw. So what can I do now? So the iFixit Phillips 00 will cam. The JIS one will remove the screw. Let me try that Milwaukee again. The 39-in-1. Phillips 00. I'm putting no more force than I would normally put. Took it out very nicely. And then the Milwaukee. Just like your run-of-the-mill Milwaukee. Like it's not a name brand like Vessel. Or even iFixit. It's just, they're not even like tailored towards like this type of electronic repair. And since I am running out of screws, I think the last one I want to try is using a Sunfrag. Now the diameter of this driver is very small, so I won't be able to transfer a lot of torque. I only have 2 screws left to do this test on before they become, well, for lack of a better term, non-virgin screws. Yeah, I can't. And I'm just camming out with my Sunfrag, which I had one form tell me that these are like the only surviving screwdriver brands that use JIS standard, which, does not seem to be having much luck on a Switch. Let's grab a wild card. Here are my hearts. Walmart private label. They just happen to have a Phillips 00 in here. I gotta find it. I think it was printed somewhere. Oh yes, right here. It's printed on the case, so I can't necessarily get these things mixed up. Well, if it's off, it doesn't even fit in the recess. Did I grab the right one? Yeah, it's smaller than the 0 that's in here, but I would say that's not even a fit. Let's grab 2 more. I have Weehaw, which I believe used the German industrial standard, the DIN. Using about the same amount of force as I put in the other screws. It's starting to cam, and there it did. Here's a PB Swiss driver. Also 00. Well, they're all 00s. And you can even see right there on the shaft. Ooh. Well, I would say that one popped really nicely. Go PB Swiss. And that screw is even starting to strip. I'll try a Klein tool, 00. Ooh, very sticky. starting to damage the screw. You can see it, that little portion getting shiny. Let's see. I'll grab my Husky insulated screw driver. This is a 00 and a slotted. There it is. Oh, no, that's not gonna work. I can already tell from out here that it's not sitting in that recess. It's sort of hovering above it. Let me grab the Draper Expert. I already have a 00 lined in on this driver. No, that one's not even sitting in that recess either. And for the interest of not damaging the screw further, I'm going to use my PB Swiss. Put a moderate amount of force. It's starting to... So once I've done the initial stripping, the screw is basically just boned. Yeah, this is not... No bueno. Let me put some big boy force on it now. PB Swiss is camming on me. I'm going to go back to my vessel because that's the one that's been working on these strip screws. A lot of force. Ooh, it's not good. Let me grab the iFixit GIS 00. Put some big boy force on it. No, I think I've properly rounded this guy out. Grab the snap-on, see if that does any better, or if it gets any grip on it. Nope. Let's grab the Milwaukee 00. Nope. Oh, that wasn't the snap-on, that was the PB Swiss. This is the snap-on. Nope. Alright, Milwaukee 39-1. This is when you shine. I might have to dig in a 000 in there to try and get it out. I'm gonna have to buy a screw kit for this console to replace the screws that I destroyed. Should have just ordered one to begin with, because I knew this was going to be kind of a disruptive or destructive process. Nope. Let's get these 000s now. Try the iFixit 000. Oh yeah, it's not even grabbing anything. Like, this screw is now properly rounded off. Yep. This might take a Dremel. Where is it? Look at that guy. So what did we learn? Don't use a 000. Ever. On these screws. They're not 000. No matter what iFixit wants to tell you. I'm going to keep working at it, but if I do have to drill it out, I will. I'm going to try the Milwaukee 39-in-1 000. Nope. Alright, let's go. Operation Screw Recovery. Or Screw Removal. This is now turning into just a, what do I do against strip screws? Guess I don't need my microscope anymore, at least not for now. Now there's kind of many different ways to do this. I think I took this off on the wrong end. I did. These are kind of garbage flatheads that I picked up at a yard sale, all for the purpose of removing damaged screws. Just dig in with a flathead and just try and work it out. And if I break these things, it's not that big of a loss. But I think they might be a little too small for that. I need something with a bigger head anyway. Or something with a bigger handle so I can transfer torque. I need to push down to just dig across or a slotted recess into this screw. And it's, as usual, it's kind of destructive to these flathead tips. Slotted tips are so dated. I would even say the Phillips recess is dated. Torx is far less susceptible to this kind of crap. Speaking of, try that. Oh yeah. So what took out this rounded screw? A Torx 5, actually. Got just enough torque into it that it popped it out. Let me put all these away. Getting a little overwhelmed by the amount of screwdrivers I have just lying around here. I'll put them over here. It'll take me a while to put them all away. And let me get this into a viewing position. There it is, a properly rounded screw. That thing is boned. Right into the garbage with you. So I did confer their findings that the Phillips 00 from iFixit does not work on these screws. I was just doing a bunch of testing without actively taking notes, so I may be uncertain, but the JIS 00 did just fine. The JIS 000 stripped out my screw. And I assume the Phillips 000 did as well. Those screws are not different in the normal switch as they are in the switch OLED, meaning that the 000s will destroy your screws, like it did for this person who left a comment. And yeah. And how inconsistently my 000s and 000s went from, like, these are not like whack ass Chinese brands that are just farting these things out. You have brands like Weehaw, you have brands like Milwaukee, PB Swiss, Klein Tools, Snap-on, Wera, iFixit, Vessel, another Milwaukee, Husky, like, just a wide smattering of different, what are claimed to be number 00 Phillips, or at least cross-recess screwdrivers, all performing differently. Some to an almost destructive, to a destructive degree on a Nintendo Switch. And they all performed wildly differently for what are supposed to be the same screwdriver. So, why I'm never going to hit a very satisfactory answer on my JIS and Phillips screwdriver paper is because of this. Just this complete disregard for order among screwdrivers. They're all different, all very well-known, reputable brands, all performing differently. Why? Why? Like, are they just winging it? Just saying, like, you know what? Let's put a sharper angle on our Phillips 00 for the shits. A lot of the time, these brands are going to be following the driver, or the actual screwdriver bits, like, or the actual screwdriver screw recess, the term I'm looking for. That's what Vessel does. They conform to the screws, they're not just making tips up and then hoping that screws will fit it. No, they look at the screws and make a driver bit that will fit them. Which even my iFixit was having, my Vessel was having a very hard time with these switch screws. This is a very, like, I'm a bit disappointed in it. And it's not because it's damaged. It's a little damaged, but not to the degree that it would destroy screws like it just did. Or even not be able to grip them as firmly as I would expect in something like a DSi. But for iFixit to recommend 000 screwdrivers, you're asking to destroy screws like I just did. Like, I have 2 screws I no longer can put into this switch because they're just completely rounded off. So, this is me rambling regarding a topic that is just insanely inconsistent. And it's chaos. It's just, it is like the Wild West. Like, if iFixit's the Wild West of information, it reflects the Wild West of tip geometries that are found within all of these different brands that will put their name on their drivers with full confidence. So, I mean, I don't even know what I gained out of this other than to say that, sure, the Hacks Wiki is on to something. That the Phillips from iFixit does cam out. But is this to claim every other Phillips in existence will pull a screw out? Because that is just not true. It is far from the truth. So, I mean, take with this with what you will. I mean, I don't really have a, like, it's similar to my paper. I really don't have a good conclusion to this. Just, these are what I found, and not all screwdrivers are made equal when they should be.